Hello everybody and welcome back. Now in today's video we're talking about the effects of war, political long-term impact. Now, as we saw in the previous video, the effects of the war politically in the short term were very huge, right? With fractured governments, inherited issues, of multiple parts of the population being displaced. There were a lot of political impacts that were immediately felt. This video, we're specifically diving into the longer term, the long impact that existed. And we're going to see a lot of some repetition, but also I'm not going to get too deep into this video because, as we have talked about, a lot of this is going to tie into paper one. What you're learning in this one is paper one, also is our next unit, which is Hitler. So let me go ahead and just dive right into this and we can get this going. So just as a reminder, political is relating to the government or public affairs of a country. We're going to dive right into Europe. Now with Europe, this, like I've already said, goes directly with case study 2 of paper 1, which is the rise of Germany and Italy. Because as we see, the German government is untrusted, unfounded, and having to deal with multiple issues that were present in the country because the Weimar Republic was newly created in the after effects of the war. And so because of that, one of the largest issues they're going to struggle with is rising radical thought. We have the communists who tried to overthrow part of Germany in Bavaria. We have the German Workers' Party, which eventually evolves into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party, and the constant struggling and locking up of the government, either through political means or economic, as you will hear in the next video. There is a huge shift on what ends up happening. So for long term, we're going to start with 1933, and just before 1933, when Hitler comes into power. Because as soon as he comes into power, he starts trying to be as aggressive as possible. And because of that, as we've talked about with the League of Nations, their whole focus is to maintain security, and collective securities is the term, to ensure that no one goes to war again and no one tries to have another First World War occur. So we get to this idea of appeasement, where they are willing to let some actions go as long as this country stops being so aggressive. Germany is granted multiple parts of land because of appeasement. Italy is granted some space, some land, some political power because of appeasement. Japan is granted a little bit of space because of appeasement, but it ends up becoming a little too late, and more on that in the next part. But a large part of the political impacts in Europe is the fact that the League of Nations, unlike what we see here in this picture, cannot keep security in check, cannot keep the rest of the world safe, and almost any and every action they do either results in countries leaving the League of Nations or punishments and harms that are never felt. Empty threats. They become what's known as a paper tiger. It looks big and scary, but it's made out of paper. It doesn't bite. It's not really a threat once you get past the overall look of it. And so we see that as a really huge issue. And furthermore, the political long-term impacts are also in China. So this is going to tie into our paper 2 unit, which is the next one, topic 10, Nazi Germany. And then later on when we dive into Mao after World War II. So a lot of the political long-term impacts that we're going to learn about impacts 2 other papers. And so I've dedicated more time to that in later videos and later sections. Now in Asia, all of this is about case study 1, the rise of Japan. Because Japan, although has some actions in World War I, they really push to try to be on a bigger, larger nation by being recognized as a European power, as you can see here on this picture. with Japan being held to the same standards of Russia, Great Britain, France, so on and so forth. So politically, Japan tries to push the boundaries as much as possible once they get recognized as a European power. And so when they do, this becomes invasion, this becomes expansion, this becomes pushing into more radical thought, because Japan, unlike Germany and Italy, have been slowly boiling and slowly becoming more and more radicalized over the span of multiple years. So although the political effects of World War I are impactful on Japan, there's also bigger, larger things that are occurring, all of which we will learn about in paper 1 in the case study. Now, as I mentioned previously, when Japan starts to expand, when Japan starts to be more aggressive and start growing outside of their boundaries, they're also kind of granted some peace from appeasement of, look, we'll let you take that, but we're going to punish you in this minor way. And furthermore, this type of appeasement that Japan gets, this type of space or political power that is given to Japan, is very short-lived, because it much like what we see with Nazi Germany, much like what we see with Mussolini's Italy, it goes straight into war. And the second part of the political long-term effects is the other topic for paper 2, topic 10, which is Mao's China. So a lot of this we're going to learn in bigger and larger videos later on.